Yes, everybody, it's Dave. Welcome back to a brand new video. Something a little bit different today. I normally get requests about graphic stuff. Not really had any recently, but I know certainly sort of late last year, I had a few requests to do a couple of things. The best thing about watching these sort of Photoshop tutorials, I literally taught myself more or less just by watching people on Photoshop. You don't necessarily have to be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, but you just learn techniques and what people do, and it just improves the way you use a program. So if you're sort of just clicking it just to think what's he doing, stick around. You may learn something new. I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. But before we kick off, make sure you go and check out the channel sponsors over at OneFootball. I was going to say at OneFootball, but over at OneFootball, the #1 football app out there at the moment. A link to those is in the top of the description down below. For me, the best football app out there for your live scores, live news, live updates. We download the app, you pick your favourite team, and that's it really. Free on Android and iOS. Link to that at the top of the description. But today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to create your own football renders, or renders in general, basically cutting out something so it's got no background, just a transparent background, and you can put whatever you want with it. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how you do it. So let's start off with, let me turn on this and we'll go on to Google Chrome. So what I've done, I did start this video and I've restarted it. So we're going to be picking a person or thing that you want to be cutting out of Photoshop. For argument's sake, on this one, I've picked Lionel Messi. The one thing that I suggest you do, if you're wanting to cut out something, is try and get the best resolution possible. So what I do normally is when I search on images, I click Tools. And on size, I want to click large. That means it's big resolution, it's pretty decent. If I make, for argument's sake, a new one and type in a Wolves player, Adama Traore, I still want it, because there's probably less pictures. Try and be a bit more specific. Adama Traore Wolves, I've got all these pictures where you can see the pixels. If it's over 1,000, it's pretty decent resolution, so you'll use that one. But for this video, we're going to be using Lionel Messi. And I'm going to be using this picture in particular. So all you need to do is right click and copy. If you want to save the image, you can save the image, but I do it for quickness. Right click, copy, and then we go back onto Photoshop. If I click window capture one, and you want to go on file and new, and if you've copied the picture, it will already give you the dimensions set in there. Resolution, I tend to click at 72. If you want to keep the background transparent, you can, but I'll just keep it as white at the time being. You don't need anything ultra random, and then Control V, and that will paste the image in. So what we want to do is click Z, or the zoom tool down here, and we're going to start off with the bottom left of Messi's top really, and then we want to be using the the polygonal lasso tool. So if you click this third tool down, depending on how you've got your toolbar, you'll either have the lasso tool, the polygonal, or the magnetic. We want to choose the middle one, which is the polygonal. And what we're going to be doing is then clicking and more or less drawing a shape around Messi's body. Make sure you've got the layer selected where your picture is, and very carefully and slowly you want to just start drawing around Messi's body. I could have got a much higher res picture than this, but I think this is a pretty decent size, because that's the sort of res you're going to get when you zoom in anyway. And as you can see, just slowly and surely, when you get to the curves, just do little clicks. We're just going to be drawing a shape around him. Don't worry too much if you get a little bit of his shirt inside your selection, but we're going to do it to like the bottom of his hand, and then we'll make the selection. So you see on the elbow here, just little clicks, nice little clicks. You see it's a bit jagged there, which we'll sort out in a second. And then we'll just keep on clicking, and then excuse me, we'll get the shape we want. So just get around his weirdly shaped wrist and to the bottom of the hand, and then we'll just click around. If I click Control and minus, that'll help me zoom out. Just click outside the canvas and then double click, and it will meet up at the selection. So when you've got your selection, you want to make sure that lasso tool is still picked. You're going to right click and refine edge. So this is going to show our selection that we've selected. And what I normally do, the settings that you normally use is smooth. I'll put it to 5, and then I'll put 1 pixel of feather on there as well. Click enter, and then click delete, and you'll see there, click Control and D, it'll deselect that. You can see there we've cut that out. If we remove the background, you can see we've got a pretty nice curve on there as well. He has got a bit of a weird shaped arm, Messi, but you know, a lot of people I know use the Magic Wand tool, but if you see there, it selects more than what you need. You click delete, you've lost half of Messi's head. You can mess with the tolerance and stuff, but you're never going to get that correct. So you're better off spending another minute or so cutting around him, and it works very well. We'll do is, you know what, we'll do around, or let's do his hair, because the hair is probably the most difficult bit. So with the hair, there are probably better ways to do it than this, to be honest, but what I do, you do have to be careful. I still do what we just sort of did, and just sort of an attempt to cut around it. Obviously you're going to get strands of hair, so this is probably more difficult, and I know some areas you do have to almost make it up where you're cutting. So you got a little strand of hair there, which is quite difficult to take a hold of, and there's a few there. Because his hair's a bit messy, get it? Okay. Yeah, because his hair's a bit of a mess, and he's got this massive tuft here, it's going to make things a little bit more difficult. So let me just get this massive tuft of hair, which is just sticking out. Couldn't you brush your hair, son? Just cut him round. This is arguably the hardest bit, very much so. And I'll show you guys in a second how to sort of almost put it in a thumbnail. So we've cut around it to a degree, and what I'm going to do now is just cut around that area. We're going to right click and refine edge again, and you can see sort of we've collected most of his hair. There's a couple of odd strands there which we don't really need. We're going to smooth it again, but on the hair we'll probably up the feather to about, not 3, maybe 2 pixels, and click delete. You can see there we've done it, but you can sort of see just here there's slight dark areas maybe where the background still is. So when we do that, maybe if you click delete again, it will do the same thing again. It will just feather it again. If we do that, it takes out even more, and I think that's a pretty good cut of his hair, to be honest, especially with all the strands and stuff missing. Once, obviously, I mean, you can get the rubber and rub out wherever you want. What I'm going to quickly do now is just cut out the rest of the image, but that is the basic techniques I use, and once we've cut it out, I'll chuck it into a thumbnail and show you what we can do. One thing I'm going to quickly show you guys as well is if you make a selection and you've done a really good selection, say for argument's sake we're cutting around here, and then you sort of either slip or make a big misjudgment. You see there you've got, if you do it on a bigger scale, you've got quite a big selection, but half of the selection is in the hand, so obviously if you're going to delete it, you're going to miss half his hand. If we undo that, Control Z by the way to undo, if we click on the lasso tool again but hold Alt, you'll see a little minus symbol comes up when you hold Alt. If you hold that and then sort of make the selection again where you don't want to be selected, it'll go. So you've got the actual selection again. Just a little tip for you guys if you need to. So there you have it, we've completed the cutout now. What I'm going to do quickly is open a file. The thumbnail normal size, if you want to make a thumbnail, is 920 pixels by 1080 pixels. You see here we've got a white background, so you can either set it as transparent or just hide that. You create a new layer first and then hide it. Then go back to the window where your Messi render is or cutout and just drag it across to here. And there you go, we've got Lionel Messi. I'm going to click Control T. Hold shift, you can make him bigger. Do not try and resize it without holding shift, because as you can see, I've seen people like do this and it just looks shit. So Control Z to undo. Hold shift when you're resizing him. He stays in proportion, he looks good. Control A and click align if you want him central. And there you go, we've got Lionel Messi. Let's quickly add a little gradient on or whatever. This is like real basic stuff, so like you guys can do whatever you want obviously in your own time. Let's quickly add a render there. Quickly add a pattern on there as well. As I say, this is like minor stuff just to make it look half decent. And then what I do is duplicate the layer. If you click Control J on Lionel Messi, you see on the layers here. My webcam is probably completely in the way, but you'll see here that let me go on to display capture. You'll see here that we've made 2 layers of Messi. If you click Control J on one of those, on the bottom one nearest to the background, click it. I'll click filter, blur, motion blur. Just adds a bit of a blur in behind Messi, hides maybe any of the imperfections that you guys have left. But you can always, if you double click the Messi layer as well, brings up blending options. You can do outer glow, or just do like a little glow around it, or inner glow, and that might just hide any of the imperfections that you've left there as well. But that's a pretty basic way to obviously create a cutout, a render, and hopefully, you know, you guys can use this for your videos and whatnot. I think that looks pretty good for a quick job, to be honest. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, but as I say, if you got any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all very soon.